shall I raise a question or?
Yes, and before we begin, let me just state our purpose and focus for today. So our goal is to finish discussing one question before moving on to the next. Okay? If someone digresses, you can jump in and I wouldn't say correct that person, but you can give a friendly notice. Okay? All right, you may begin.
So like one thing I found interesting is about how narrator and her father described about the like local government when they started to talk about like how like the government set a policy for for restricting the number of dogs that each household can raise after like a passenger or something was bitten by a dog, and then like both the narrator and the father started to laugh at the government. So one thing I want to like one question that I want to raise is that how might the lack of like government control, the lack of authority in the narrator's like local environment influenced the narrator's family and like the local town?
Does anyone understand what Amy is asking? If you do, just ask for the microphone and then repeat the question so that make sure we are on the same page. I think that's a little bit too. Okay, you guys go. Okay, I think no one do you understand? Okay, ask for the microphone.
I don't understand.
Okay, I'll repeat.
Yeah.
So basically, like how did the lack of government control influence the narrator's family or like the whole town?
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Racing, do you have anything to share?
No. For this question.
Okay. When you raise a question, I think it better be specific. So you were asking basically two questions. How does the lack of government influence Tara's family and other people in town, right?
So probably I'll just like restrict the question into like how does the government influence Tara's family only?
How about we narrow it down to one person? It makes it easier to discuss. Do you mean Tara or Tara's dad or mom or Tyler?
Probably like Tara's dad. Yeah.
Okay, Jesse.
To be honest, I feel like even if there are like changes to the local government, if they change any rules, to be honest, I feel like it wouldn't impact Tara's family or Tara's dad like a lot, because the whole time I'm not sure if everyone read the previous chapters, but the whole time Dad's like really religious and he believes in God instead of the government, etc. So even if they change the rules, it wouldn't be really applied to the father because he will like follow the nature or something. Which one?
Don't be so shy.
I almost hold the same opinion, but I also want to say is that it in some way doesn't affect
Wait.
Tara's dad.
So before you state your own opinion, you have to connect somehow to her comment first.
I said I almost agree.
And eye contact.
Oh. I almost absolutely agree with the opinion, but I also think that mostly it doesn't affect Tara's dad, but I think this will some way make her dad think like the government is ridiculous, and it might be a way that Tara's dad uses to tell his children that the government is not trusted and not be able to trust, and yeah.
Good. connect to him and her.
I'll just connect to Jesse. I don't really have anything to connect to with Richard. Well, I completely agree with Jesse's views with the government, since Tara's family already completely disagree with the government, seeing that they are fundamentalists. So they just fundamentalists, sorry. So they just use the government to make jokes, and it's like something to cheer them up during dinner or like meals. Can we reach like a consensus for this argument, or does anyone disagree?
Amy, do you have any comment?
I kind of have a different view.
Go ahead.
So probably we can imagine a situation of there is an authority or central power in the town, and then there are very strict rules, and then everyone are kind of organized very well. Then would the father actually have the courage to kind of love with his daughter, or is there any need for the citizens to make fun of the rules, since the rules are actually working?
When you say citizens, are you referring to his dad?
Yeah, I mean, his dad is one of the citizens of the town.
His dad disregards the government. They hate the government. They don't like the government. So any rules set by the government, they will just ignore it, right?
Okay, so is this hatred based on their religious faiths?
Pretty much, yeah, because they're against each other.
Not much because of the government.
I kind of agree with Amy's opinion, but not only because I don't think their hatred towards the government is only because of their religion. It might be part of a reason, but then I think it's more because their life is not improved, or the government didn't pay attention to the people in the lower class. So everyone knows that their family lives a poor life, which I think one of the reasons why this Tara's dad hates the government is because the government never show their humanity towards people like their family, and then hating the government becomes their face that support their life. So if the government is always wrong, then everything that's
Yeah. I see your point.
yeah.
So the government is not providing enough opportunity for them to earn money,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Okay. We only have 6 minutes left, so I think that's a very good discussion there. Can we move on to the next? Okay. Okay, I want to discuss something related to the chapter. Who want to raise another question? Go ahead. Let's talk about the fire.
Yeah, my question was near the fire. Wait, I didn't. Wait, so what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I remember there's a twine belt mentioned about 3 or 4 times on page 6, and there's also a sentence that the twine was a family fable, and I don't absolutely understand this. My first thought is that does it means the family's fate is twined together or what? But yeah, I don't really understand this question.
Good.
The twine was mentioned 3 to 4 times in a chapter. Yeah.
Okay, anyone? Where does the twine first appear? Do we all know what a twine is?
I know.
It's not a belt. It's a, how do you call it? Fake belt? Because Dad said he wants to give.
A man owes to have a real belt.
Yeah.
Dad wants to give Luke a leather belt, but Luke thinks that a twine belt is better.
Twine belt ，twine 是线 绳的意思。It's not a real belt. And I think Luke prefers a twine, right, to a real belt.
Yeah.
Okay. Why? Microphone.
One of the simple reasons that I can think of is maybe like he doesn't have the money to buy a real belt.
But
Probably.
Dad offered to give him a real belt, right? He declined.
I don't think it's that he doesn't have money to buy a real belt. It says on page 6, paragraph 6, it says, Luke grinned. Beauty is everything, he says. He probably thinks that twine is just beauty, and that's how the way he sees the beauty, the fashion, and he thinks that twine is better than the leather strap because it's fashionable.
Can you relate to it? Prefer something inferior or cheap instead of a high-end product? Can you relate to that? I'd like to hear from someone who hasn't spoken yet, since we only have 3 minutes left.
I think the belt here simply means that the belt and twine here simply just like a kind of choice of look and does not have some kind of deeper meanings, just my personal ideas.
Okay.
And I wasn't really agree with Richard's question. Thanks.
I think the twine has a more symbolic meaning, so I disagree with William. A man ought to have a real belt. I think I think he means that he wants Luke to be like the religious man he is, like that is for Luke to follow in Dad's footsteps and pass like this religious belief. But like since it's like the family fable, a lot of like the brothers have left for school, so I think Luke also wants to do that. So he prefers a twine belt. He doesn't want to be a real man. Yeah.
Why would anyone doesn't want to be a real man?
As a dad.
Religious man.
Yeah,
Okay.
dad's idea.
Okay.
Kind of agree with your thought because later on it's like Luke doesn't do something when Dad's telling him to do, and that's probably a reason like he just don't want to do anything Dad wants him to.
Interesting.
The last page, the first part.
I think you might have missed
It's probably the first time
like-
in his whole life that Luke doesn't do
No, I
Okay.
just feel like
Okay. I would really love to continue this discussion, but we only have 2 minutes left, and I want to address the obvious issue in this chapter, which is that Dad chose to rescue the fire instead of his son. Okay, what do you think about that?
I mean he's his dad.
Huh?
How could he just leave his son like dying and then saving the plants, and that's just stupid.
I feel like since he's like really like what's it called, fundamentalist, so nature is like, I don't know, part of what he believes in. It's what it supplies him, and so he thinks like if Luke was the necessary sacrifice to save the environment, then I feel like if
His dad is not an environmentalist. Why does he choose to save the environment?
Because
Let's hear from someone who hasn't spoken yet.
I don't think it has to do with him wanting to save nature. I think it has to relate to the question where, like, would you rather, if the apocalypse was coming, would you rather save your family or save the fate of humanity? And I think he judged that if he let the fire in the woods rage on, it would probably cause a lot more damage, seeing as what was on Luke was just he burned his leg. He would live with it. He would be fine afterwards as soon as it was treated. But if that fire managed to spread during that dry season, it would cause a lot of damage to the town, to everything, to his house, to everything that he held dear. So I think in that case, he made a choice. It was a hard choice, but I think he made the right one.
Okay, and what's the most important thing to Dad? Religion, right? And how does nature relate to religion? Interesting.
I think the Dad sees every life alive. I think Dad sees every life alive, just like Luke is alive. Every plant is alive, and yeah, so in front of Luke and the others, he think every life is the same, so he choose to save more life than one.
Okay, interesting. And for those who have joined this semester, in the first 4 chapters, Tara mentions that Dad has bipolar disorder. Do you all know what bipolar is? So it's a kind of mental disease. So given this information, do you think that that would make a different choice if he doesn't have the mental illness?
Yes.
It depends.
It depends because there's.
Can we hear from Jenny or Jesse? Last 2 comments. I'll let you go. How about Jesse?
So
I'll keep you for 3 more minutes, okay? Focus. Jesse?
So, what is that kind of mental illness?
It makes you moody. Sometimes you believe in weird beliefs.
So, I think like he just left his son and let him to run to home by himself. Is that like he believed that the Lord will provide help for his son and the gods will save his son? And yeah, I agree with what Zai will say, that he had made a hard choice between like that the weed and his son. Like he believes that he can prevent a wildfire, and he just think that maybe if he didn't try to save the fire on the weed, like the house will be in danger, as he said that maybe he can prevent a wildfire and save the house. So I think maybe he just leave the responsibility to save his son to the God. Like he believed in that religion so deep, he thinks like the God will help him to do that.
Do you agree?
I
Short 10-second comment.
I agree with Jesse, because in the text it also says that Dad's hands was red and blistery. He used his bare hands to choke the fire, showing how much he cared for that piece of land and didn't want the fire to go. So yeah, I agree. Does anyone?
Good observation. Jenny, do you have any last comment to add? We will give you more opportunity next time, okay?
I'm just thinking.
Anything on your mind?
No.
No?
no.
Okay. Last comment.
I'm thinking about a very interesting question. Is that I remember, yeah, Dad used his hands to put out the fire, so
Yes.
it shows that Dad really cares about his son. But also, I think he doesn't see his son and daughters more important than religion, because when Tara decides to go to school, she says that Tara's not his daughter. So yeah, I think in this way he he loves his son very much, but his son was still not important as religion is.
Okay. I'm very sorry to end this abruptly, but maybe we can discuss more on Monday, okay? Good discussion here. Good job, guys.